morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And a very happy Wednesday to you. Here is Hump Day.
Yes.
Glad to have you aboard as we're getting ready to count down to St. Patrick's Day, getting a little bit closer and closer. So we'll have some great stuff for you coming up for that as well.
Yes, and greening of the fountain this Friday, so that's
Sure
always
enough.
exciting and
Yep,
fun.
coming up day after tomorrow, and we'll have highlights and stuff of that for you later on later shows.
Yes, we will.
Meanwhile, the big meltdown from the media and from the communists in Washington.
I can't believe how every story that I saw yesterday was about this meltdown that they're having about the January 6 tapes being released in a way that they felt like wasn't proper.
Yeah.
So, very interesting. I don't know how you can really combat the release of these tapes or justifying the fact that they were never released in the first place.
Yeah, but the fact that we don't have journalists anymore, this was real journalism from Tucker Carlson, and like he said, all you had to do was ask for the tapes. There was nothing to it. They had everything vetted. There's nothing false about this. They ran it through all the channels. Nothing was altered, unlike what NBC, the National Barack Channel, did with some of the tapes and audio that they've put on the air over the years, or some of the other networks that selectively edit these things so that it makes it look like what they want you to see instead of what you ought to be seeing. And they don't know what journalism is. All you had to do was ask for these tapes, and they vetted them all through the Capitol Police, who had no objections whatsoever, said, yep, that's it, that's what happened. And he even had an interview with one of the police, Capitol Police, who lost his job for doing his job.
Yes, well, and also Kevin McCarthy said that they did take the tapes to the Capitol Police, and there were some things that they felt like they needed to video footage that they wouldn't release due to safety concerns.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it was run through them first, and they went through the proper channels. And also, the other thing that I think is infuriating for me is that the person that was dressed up as the shaman, he didn't have access to the tapes for his own defense. Why? How is that?
Or any of
fair?
the people that have been arrested for this have had no access to this, and this guy served us honorably in the Navy. He just came in dressed up, his Viking hat, and apparently that was a terrorist threat. And he puts his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk. Well, whoop-de-doo. But the rest of the time, the video shows him walking through the Capitol, being escorted by the cops. They weren't trying, and none of these people, for the most part, were trying to destroy any property whatsoever. In fact, they were looking at it with reverence. People were taking selfies. They were looking at items on that were displayed on a desk. They didn't spray paint any of the statues.
They didn't burn anything down.
No.
And not to say that there weren't some bad actors, there were.
Oh, yeah.
However, most of the people that ended up in the Capitol were waved in by police officers and walked around the Capitol with police officers.
I talked to several eyewitnesses on my radio show some years back, a couple of years back, and one of them was an American Airlines flight attendant who was up there, and he was in the process of about losing his job because he was there. And he said he saw Antifa people changing clothes into MAGA, Trump stuff. Those are the ones who are really causing the trouble.
Yeah, well, and the people that say that Antifa isn't real, I am sorry.
Oh.
These people have been doing so much damage in multiple cities, and yes, they are organized and they know what they're doing, and they're being paid by someone. I mean, these people can't just come up with all of this stuff on their own. They have to be being paid.
Yeah.
So it's very frustrating to me, and we should be getting to the bottom of things. And I think that we will now, but at this point in time, I believe President Trump is the only person running for the presidency that has come out and said these people should be released immediately.
Some of them have been in solitary confinement, and we know for penalties that we don't charge murderers for anymore. And conditions that we don't have most prisoners in. Well, maybe they ought to do a little bit of journalism and show us some of those pictures.
Yeah, and if Mitch McConnell, if you had any questions on where he stood on things,
I'll be indebted to him forever for not getting for keeping our current Attorney General off the Supreme Court. But that's it. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah, Garland, is that his name?
Yeah, Merrick Garland, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, fine. But the fact that he has been, I don't feel like he's been on the American people's side most of
Well, yeah.
his seating up there.
And
So,
a lot of these rhinos, and from right back in your neck of the woods,
Mitt
Mitt
Romney.
Romney.
He's the worst decision that Utah ever made. He's
Brother,
been terrible.
I'm appalled.
Well, I think that we were bamboozled a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think that he has represented what he ran on, and I don't think that Utahns are not happy with him. If he's in the airport in Utah, I'll tell you what, he is not met with friendly faces.
So once again, this video, just the video alone of the QAnon shaman or whatever where did that name come from anyway?
The narrative.
Yeah,
the narrative.
But just that video alone, and just the few snippets that Tucker Carlson has shown, and kudos to him and to Fox News for putting this on, and it ruins the whole narrative. The whole thing. It's like if you've got this you've been accused of murder. You're on the stand, and everything you have planned the perfect murder. You're going to get away with it, and suddenly there's one little item that you left out, and it suddenly becomes is presented in court, and it blows the whole deal, and off you go to the hoosegow.
Yep, and I think that that's exactly what's happening now. I'm interested to see how this is going to break down in the next several weeks, because I think that they're going to continue to have a meltdown. And
I'd like to have the taxpayers reimbursed for all the money that it costs for these this January 6th committee, and for all the people who may have even sponsored them when they were televising it in prime time, for God's sake, even though only about 6 people watched.
Well, also all of the people that lost their jobs because they were anywhere in the vicinity of Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there will be some major lawsuits come from this.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. Yes. And these people deserve to have their jobs back pay, the whole bit. Yep. It's just disgusting what we've seen here. And listen to some of this meltdown that we had yesterday, including we mentioned the aforementioned Mitch McConnell and also Chuck Schumer.
With the Capitol Police's very serious concerns about the release of this footage, was it a mistake by Speaker McCarthy to give access to Tucker Carlson of this security footage?
My concern is how it was depicted, which is a different issue. Clearly, the chief of the Capitol Police, in my view, correctly describes what most of us witnessed firsthand on January 6th. So that's my reaction to it. It was a mistake, in my view, for Fox News to depict this in a way that's completely at variance with what our chief law enforcement official here at the Capitol thinks.
If that's the case, following up on what Ronnie said, Tucker Carlson has already teased another round of videos that are going to be released today. I understand that you're upset with the way that Fox is depicting it, but he's been forecasting this for months, asking for this access to this footage to have a presentation just like this. Was it a mistake for the speaker to hand that?
You guys know I have many faults, but one of them is not answering the question in a way that I don't want to answer it. I've given you the answer.
Why do you think there are some within your party who don't want to acknowledge January 6th as an attack or an insurrection?
Shall I give you the same answer again? Anybody want to?
To say January 6th was not violent is a lie pure and simple. I don't think I've ever seen a primetime cable news anchor manipulate his viewers the way Mr. Carlson did last night. I don't think I've ever seen an anchor treat the American people and American democracy with such disdain. And he's going to come back tonight with another segment. Fox News should tell him not to. Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, tell Carlson not to run a second segment of lies. You know it's a lie. You've admitted it's a lie.
This is the same guy that was standing in front of the Supreme Court threatening Supreme Court justices. And when he said that, and he goes on to say that this is going to cause another January the 6th. Give me a break. He's the one that's caused January the 6th.
Absolutely. And our friend Lizzie Warren says the only people who don't want to disclose the truth are those with something to hide. Barack Hussein Obama.
Yeah, the Dalai Lama, among others. But for God's sake, this is the videotape is absolutely crystal clear. The fact that they want to censor, no wonder the January 6th committee didn't want to show you any of this. No wonder the rest of the lamestream media and the Democrats, but I repeat myself, didn't want you to see this.
Well, and Bill, for me, video...
And just one other point about Chuck Schumer. Nobody said, Tucker Carlson did not say that this was not a riot of some sort. Did not say
he said there was violence.
He didn't say that. He didn't say this. That there weren't violence. But for the rest part, it was mostly peaceful.
Yeah,
your favorite expression.
I was going to say they should know that by now. Mostly peaceful. It's fine. I think the other thing is with the videotapes. I understand that there may be some security issues, but go through the right channels. That video footage belongs to the American people.
Exactly.
And I don't know where we've gotten so lost in things where the American people can't know anything about our government or what they're doing.
That's your video. Shot with your cameras. In
your
building, your money in your building, and when Mitch McConnell gives this stupid remark like that he didn't show, we didn't, it's not what we saw. Well, what you saw was what they've been playing on as a continuous loop for the last 2.5 years
on every other network, right?
Yeah, exactly. Of these people pouring in. And McConnell wasn't any place to see what was on the videotape. He was locked in one of those rooms.
Well, that's the other thing. Yes, it may have been very scary for them based off of how they were, evacuated and things like that. But honestly, looking at the videotape, it seems like you said, mostly peaceful. There were bad actors, and I have questions about those bad actors as well because Ray Epps was placed on the FBI Most Wanted list, and then the next day, he's gone off of it. Typically, the only way that happens is if you die or if you are working for the FBI.
He also showed they also had a great video of the Capitol Police officer that died the next day.
He was walking around.
That said, he was hit with he was killed by one of these people. Got hit with a fire extinguisher. Yeah. Again, that was a lie that was being told. So Chuck Schumer must not have ever watched MSDNC or the Communist News Network if he said he hasn't seen an anchor that lied so much or twisted a story so much, because that's all they do.
Well, that's the thing. Chuck Schumer and his cronies probably all write the things that CNN and all those guys say. So.
Yeah. The same writers that wrote the Obamacare.
Yep. Oh my goodness, Bill, there's so much going on, especially at our state capitol. So
yeah, boy.
When we get back, we're going to look at what is happening up at the Gold Dome.
Yep. See.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
At Get Real America, we'd like to thank the Southeast Georgia Republican Assembly for all their efforts on making a difference in our communities.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Hump Day. Here it is, the 8th day of March already. Wow.
I know. This month's already flying by.
Time flies when you're having fun. Yes, sirree. But also time is running out on the Georgia legislature. They've had crossover day, and we're coming down to the nitty-gritty under the Gold Dome.
Yep, and I think we have a look at that now.
Yeah, let's take a look and see what's going on with the latest.
Well, I can tell you that the House is now in recess for a much-needed dinner break, I should probably say, and will return at around 8:15. Now, earlier in the day, a bill that would allow 17-year-olds to be seen in juvenile court instead of Superior Court actually passed, as well as the budget. But the big news of the day mainly coming from the Senate. It's crossover day, a busy day for both chambers as they try to pass as many of their bills as they can by the end of today's session. In the Senate, more gambling and education legislation. Senate Resolution 140 would provide a state constitutional amendment allowing sports betting. The resolution would need to be approved by 2 in both chambers, and voters would have to approve the constitutional change.
I believe if Georgia wants to, the only fair way to do this is to amend the Constitution, which is what Senate Resolution 140 does.
This latest proposal also distributes the gambling proceeds differently. 55%
of the money goes to education, 15% for treating and preventing compulsive gaming, 25% to rural economic development, healthcare, mental health in those areas, and then the 5% for promoting sports events.
Senator Marty Harbin, who opposed an earlier gambling bill, once again rose in opposition.
When we look at sports gambling, there's an addiction issue that's talked about. There's a lot of good things that we see from it, but there's also a lot of issues that are addiction. Even this is that according, and if y'all remember, I handed out the Illinois Law Review to you to read through. It's interesting is that the addiction rate, even among minorities, are double what it is among Caucasians. Even Jesse Jackson in his Chicago speech on Martin Luther King Day called gambling the new chains of slavery. Youth and kids exposed to gambling are already showing double those of gambling addiction percentage rates.
Multiple amendments were proposed, including making the Hope scholarships need-based instead of merit-based, as well as an amendment that would allow casinos and pari-mutuel wagering, but both failed to make the grade. The resolution failed to meet the 2/3 requirement with a 30-26 vote. And SB 233, a bill that would allow parents a $6,000 voucher to be used to educate their children outside of the public education system.
That could be anything from private schools to homeschooling to virtual schooling. That number represents slightly less than the average QBE allocation, or I should say state funding allocation that we spend on every student in the state of Georgia. Those parents will be able to choose from a list of expenses, approved expenses that are in the bill on lines 42 through 59, and allow them to request funding from the third-party administrator that will administrate these funds to reimburse for those approved expenses.
Opponents of the bill say it will weaken public school funding.
When we look at how this program works across the country, 70 to 80% of the participants are families who would have sent their kids to private school anyway. So what we are in fact doing is we are reallocating money. We are defunding our state education system and sending that money to private schools.
You ruin the schools so that they don't have credibility. You don't give them the money they need to do a basic job, which is on us, and then use that as an excuse to weaken them further.
The bill passed along party lines 33-23. In the House, a lengthy debate on House Bill 30, which changes the definition of anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews, rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed toward Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and their property, toward Jewish community institutions and religious facilities.
Democrats argued there is already a definition and other minority or religious groups may feel excluded from additional protections.
By creating a definition for anti-Semitism when anti-Semitic acts are already covered in statute, it begs the question as to why the Georgia Code does not define anti-Black racism or anti-Latino racism or anti-Asian racism. Each of these groups could make the argument that they have been subjected to an increase in acts of violence over the years.
Representative Esther Panich, the only Jewish elected member of the General Assembly, says this bill does nothing of the sorts.
Just to be clear, just because the hate crime law says it's against religion does not swastika would be considered anti-Semitic. A swastika does not go against my religion. There is nothing in the Torah about a swastika. You need a definition to be able to say that a swastika is anti-Semitic. It's as simple as that. Things that you would think would be obvious are not obvious. And I'll get to an example in a moment. But that is all this is, and it has been twisted and contorted into making something it's not, and I don't know why.
The bill passed 136-22, and a major milestone as HB 18, which covers the 2023 amended fiscal budget, passed successfully.
I would be remiss not to begin with a few of the places where the House and Senate agreed not only with each other, but with the governor. Full funding for QBE and the midterm adjustment, $35.7 million to the governor's rural workforce housing initiative, $166.7 million for large economic development projects receiving REBA grants for Hyundai and Rivian, $92 million for reinsurance to help keep our health insurance premiums low, and $34.5 million for new public safety radio network for State Patrol and DNR.
And the Senate also passed the amended fiscal year budget 54-1. That bill is now on its way to the governor's desk. And in a committee meeting this morning with House Appropriations Chairman Matt Hatchett, he said that they expect they could have another budget for next year ready within a week. Donna, that is my Capitol report. Back to you.
Thanks so much, Michelle.
So that courtesy of Georgia Public Television, GPTV.
Yep, they do a great job of following what's going on up there. So
they do.
Very grateful for them.
That anti-Semitism bill rarely gets this kind of cooperation and collaboration between Republicans and Democrats, but it passed 136-22. But why we have to redefine these things all the time is beyond my comprehension. It's the laws are pretty clear, and I noticed that the lady, but maybe she's not, was saying that they didn't address
swastikas.
Yeah, swastikas, or the one that said about Hispanics or blacks.
Oh,
She didn't mention white people, but then again, we're insignificant anyhow. So
Yes, well, and the good news is that they did pass House Bill 140, which is banning sex assignment surgeries for minors, which I think is a really big step. One of the arguments is there was only 50 kids that this was impacting in the entire state of Georgia, but I also think that we have seen how this has escalated across the country, and it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
So waiting on the House to vote on this bill, but I'm hoping that it passes with flying colors. There are some things about the bill that I don't like, but I do think it's a great start.
We're going to be talking about this with State Representative Ron Stevens, who will be joining us on tomorrow's broadcast. And also Dr. Ben Watson was talking about this, about the puberty blockers, that they've been discussing that as well. We're not banning the puberty blockers because he said that is not altering any health altering type. If you can within 30 to 40 days after taking those, you're right back to your old self again, as opposed to these hormones that they give that are permanent. But I'm not particularly in favor of the puberty blockers either. So we'll be discussing that with State Representative Ron Stevens tomorrow. We'll get Dr. Ben Watson on with us just as soon as we possibly can about it as well.
Yeah, and the puberty blocker thing, I have some questions on what drugs are under that, because there are some drugs that I am very concerned about, one of them being Lupron. Lupron is used to chemically castrate pedophiles. So if they're giving that to children, I can't imagine that it's reversible.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, that's, we'll dive into that another day. But
well, I know Dr. Ben Watson, and if you look up integrity in the dictionary, his picture ought to be next to it. So he will be giving what is the proper medicine and the proper dosage and everything else, and what he deems as an MD. But that's Brittany said discussion for another day. A discussion that we have right now, though, is speaking of definitions and defining things. Bill Maher, who I'm always hot and cold on this guy.
Yep, so am I.
But he asked some very poignant questions, and it goes to show that the left sometimes they come up with all these platitudes, they come up with all these expressions, and they don't know what they mean. And Bernie Sanders was on with Bill Maher just recently, and Bill nailed him on this one on what is the difference in two words that they keep using all the time. Let's take a look.
This word equity has come into the language in the last few years, and before that we didn't hear it a lot. And I think a lot of people hear equity and they hear equality, that like it's the same word, and it's not the same word and the same concept. So how would you differentiate between equity and equality?
Well, equality, we talk about, I don't know what the answer to that is. Come to think of it, equality is equality of opportunity. All right? We live in a society, we want all people to have whatever color your skin is.
Equity, I think, is more guarantee of outcome, is it not?
I think so. I think that's
okay. So which side do you come down on?
Equality.
Equality.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Boys?
Okay. It's like we ask kids sometimes, what is the difference, and we do this in Sunday school, what's the difference in knowledge and wisdom? They're not the same thing.
They are not. One has to do with experience.
Exactly. Yeah, I could memorize Gray's Anatomy, know everything there is to know about the human body. And I could also memorize books on surgical procedures with the human body. But if you handed me a scalpel and sent me in an operating room to operate on somebody, I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah, I wouldn't want you to be operating on me, that is for sure.
Well, I can certainly understand that. As a frustrated thoracic surgeon, maybe God knew what he was doing when he put organic chemistry in my path. All right, coming up next.
We are talking to Bubba Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
He has been on our show before, and he is an incredible human being. But
he really is.
I think that he's
sometimes when life hands you lemons, he makes lemonade. But honest to goodness, he just keeps getting too many lemons, and you're going to meet the next one next. At Get Real America, we are focused on Savannah, but we'd like to hear from other communities as well. We have a lot in common.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living, because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was that they had come to us because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
Getting real here with our good buddy Bubba Shaw. Bubba is confined to a wheelchair, and he has made it his mission in life to help people out getting wheelchairs. And he goes around collecting, he and his wife go around collecting scrap metal and any other things that people are throwing away or destroying, and he turns them into something useful like wheelchairs for people and then gives them away. He needs donations, he needs help all the time, and but he's the real deal. I mean, this money is going to actually help people, and because he knows from which he speaks. And unfortunately, sometimes people can take advantage of folks like that. And we have something because he drives around in one of the biggest Ford trucks you've ever seen in your life.
Yes, it's a very large vehicle.
It's a monster truck, but it requires a lot of maintenance, and he had some maintenance done just recently on it. Apparently, well, at least he paid for the maintenance that wasn't done. Bubba explains exactly where he stands.
Let's go.
All righty. Talking with Bubba Shaw again, and Bubba, you had a good Christmas?
Had a great Christmas. It was bigger than we thought it was going to be.
What all happened?
We were able to help 5 families, and one of the families I was able to reach out and help a lot more because when we started digging, they needed a lot more help than I initially thought.
Mm-hmm. What all did you do for them?
We were able to give some toys and some clothes, and be able to give a bunch of gift cards and for Walmart and Publix and Kroger's.
Now, you've run into a bit of a snag here on the car repair business here or whatever. What happened?
Yes, sir. About 6 months ago, I paid a shop in Brunswick to do front end alignment. I took the truck in to get our front end work, not front end alignment, but front end work. I took the truck in to get a front end alignment done, and SOS told me that they hadn't, whoever did the front end work hadn't done any of it. So they couldn't do the front end alignment, and they let me know that it needed to be done sooner than later because it would cause bigger issues with the tires and everything else.
They didn't do any of the work?
They didn't do any of the work. I paid for it. It was over $2,000. They didn't do any of the work. And when I went back to the shop, I found out that they are no longer in business.
So they took the money and ran, literally, then?
Yeah, they took the money and ran.
Have you been able to track them down, or what do you? What's your recourse?
No, I had a buddy that was helping me track them down, but everything that we found so far, they actually left the state.
Wow. Have you contacted like Better Business Bureau or?
I'm in the process of doing that right now, but
I want to get the Secretary of State's office involved too, or something like that.
Yeah.
Even our Attorney General. I mean, this is fraud on a grand scale here.
Yeah.
What's the name of the company, or what was it?
It was. I don't remember.
But you have the bill, right?
Yeah, I have the new bill for it, and I can get you the old bill.
Well, what have you done to resolve the issue of the front end alignment and stuff?
The SOS, which is a company here in Savannah, is going to do the work, and they included the front end alignment and all the front end work, and I've got the new bill for that, and I'm just reaching out for help.
Mm-hmm. And how much is that going to be?
That is $2,280 bucks.
Mm-hmm. For the whole deal.
For the whole deal.
And they promised to actually do the work this time.
Yeah, I'll be able to go in and see them doing the work.
Ah, that sounds good. And where are they located?
They are located in Garden City, right past Chatham Parkway. You go over the viaduct, and they're on the right.
Mm-hmm. Now, would you are you looking for some help from some people here, or what?
Yes, sir. I am looking for donations. We've got GoFundMe, Cash App, and if you give me a call, we'll even come pick up checks. I'm doing light work with the truck right now because any heavier stuff damages the front end even more, and that's just not something we want to do.
No, that could add to the cost, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do people go, and where do people find you?
They can find me on Facebook, and they can call 912-508-4558 or text that same number, and I'll be more than glad to hand them all the information where they can donate. They can actually call Gerald's Top Dollar Scrapyard and donate that way as well. And people in South Carolina can donate they can call Ken's Tire in Ridgeland, South Carolina, and donate that way over the phone.
Mm-hmm. And and when they look for you on Facebook, where do they look?
It's called the Wish to Walk Foundation.
Okay. And is this a 501c3 or anything like that?
We're in the process of getting 501c3.
Okay, very good. But we're not right now. It's just not tax deductible at the moment.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I wish you the best on this. And I'm sorry. I hope we could track these miscreants down and get these people.
Yeah, me too.
I'll bet. Thanks, Bubba.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Well, hopefully the Glenn County Sheriff will be able to track those folks down, and so they closed up shop. Imagine, you pay $2,000 for repairs that were never done. I know we used to have, one of our news guys used to talk about that these shops that did what he called a wall job. I said, what's a wall job? I said, that's where they park the car next to the wall and 3 days later call you and tell you it's ready.
Oh, wow.
So.
And collect the money and say, have a good day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Well, a lot of them now are doing like the video camera stuff. So every time I take my car in, I get a video of everything that they're doing on it as they're doing it, which I like. So I love transparency, Bill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, boy, don't we all.
Yes. And our friend Steve Staten Sr. says, what are they doing to protect our kids? That was a comment that he made a little bit ago. And then we have Lizzie Warren. Finland has described them as experimental, which is like the puberty blocker drugs and the surgeries. And then, dang, Bernie Sanders chose equality. She also mentioned our good friends at Sweet Potatoes and how she wishes they had breakfast because their food is so delicious. I don't disagree with you. Their food is amazing.
Yeah, it is excellent. So go out and this is what we call good old home cooking.
Yes.
When I order green beans, most places it looks like they've stacked they've taken a bunch of green beans and maybe heated them up in a microwave or something, and they're terrible. No flavor whatsoever. They actually, they saute these and like in bacon grease and all kind of good stuff. So they're extremely tasty. So you're real homemade, home cooked vegetables, and the desserts are fantastic. The banana pudding may be illegal in some states. They advertise it as the best in the world. I'm not going to argue with that. Pirate's House is pretty good too.
Yeah, well, I will say the corn pudding. I had never had it before. I'm like, what is this? It's amazing.
My mother was a gourmet cook, and she made a fantastic corn pudding, and practically everything that she cooked was amazing. What got me was, as a kid, I wouldn't eat lobster. So she always cooked me a hamburger. When they had lobster, she cooked me a hamburger or something else. And then I was at a friend's dinner one night, and they had lobster. Now I'm stuck. Now either I eat this or I starve that night. And from the first bite, I was in love with it. And then all of a sudden, I'm mad with myself. And I said, I've passed this up, for 15 or 16 years.
And your mom's is probably incredible.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it was. So there. And that's why I get so frustrated with our grandkids sometimes. I said, when they put something, I don't want to eat it, I don't like it. Try it. Just try. I promise you won't die.
Well,
just try it.
Well, and I didn't start eating lettuce until I was like in my late 20s because of I didn't like the taste of it. But apparently your taste buds change over time. So
yeah, they do. Yeah,
always
they do.
give it a try.
Yeah, I didn't know lettuce had much of a taste.
Well,
it depends. Yeah. I didn't like. My mom did serve asparagus. I didn't like, but it was out of a can. The first time the first time I had fresh asparagus right out of the garden.
So good.
I'm a fan.
Yes.
Yeah, no problem there. In fact, and I eat broccoli now, but as a child, I didn't even like people who liked broccoli. So there was that. Yeah, your tastes do change. So try it. I remember, speaking of my grandkids, I had made them butterscotch pudding.
That sounds delicious.
And
you had me butterscotch.
And then I said, just try it. And the younger one tried, he put it in his mouth, and his eyes just turned into golf balls practically, and we couldn't stop him from eating it. So try it.
Yes, always give it a try. So go to Sweet Potatoes, try their food. You will not be disappointed.
No, you won't.
Oh goodness. Well, and we were talking earlier about the St. Patrick's Day stuff that's coming up. There are so many restaurants around here, but the Snug. What is it? The Snug.
The
Pub?
Snug.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is a new pub out on Wilmington,
yeah,
right?
That's Danny Merritt's place. He and his brother were the co-founders of Nine Line Apparel.
Yeah, but from what I hear, they have some good Irish food. Is that right?
Of course they do. Yeah,
yes.
Great Irish food, and the pizzas are out of this world. If you like, if you like a soft pizza, they don't do the crispy crust. They do the soft crust. If you like soft crust, if you like pizza, you will. If you don't like pizza, you'll like this one. If you love pizza, you're going to just go crazy over the pizzas that they have. It is absolutely fantastic. So I recommend that out on Wilmington Island. It's right there behind Ace Hardware.
Okay. I'm going to have to go check it out because I also heard they have a chocolate pie that's amazing. So Lizzie Warren, right before we go to break, says, sorry, Bill, no asparagus or okra for her. So
sorry to hear that. I love okra. A lot of people don't like it because it looks like it's got that, it has kind of a slimy, but the flavor is fantastic, and it flavors things so well. You may not like okra, but boy, I sure do love it in stews and things of that nature. It gives it a great flavor.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Well, when we get back.
Skip cauliflower.
I like cauliflower, so it's delicious. But when we get back.
Different strokes for different folks.
Yes. And when we get back, we will be talking with Jonathan Scott. He was here for the book festival.
Speaking of food, you'll hear about that more next.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
The Constitution has been amended 27 times. That may sound like a lot, but that's over the course of almost 250 years.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard on this hump day. Here it is, the 8th day of March, and we are getting ready. There are all sorts of activities going on. Yesterday at the Kiwanis Club, the downtown Kiwanis Club, we had the St. Vincent's chorus singing for us with their new director, and just terrific. The director in the past has been one of my best friends and neighbors, Bernadette Winters, and for over almost 30 years. She was the director there, and she always, she played the piano or keyboard for them well. This guy not only played the keyboard, their new director had a guitar, harmonica. It was a different, kind of a different atmosphere, a different feeling, and it was just terrific. So they sang some great songs for us. We're going to have some of those for you tomorrow and next week as we get ready for the big St. Patrick's Day parade. So they put on a good show. Had a chance to talk with the Grand Marshal, George Schwartz. He's going to be leading the parade here a week from Friday, and it's going to be fantastic.
Yes, I'm really excited. Vanderbilt, which is my dog, and I will be walking in the parade, which should be interesting all in itself. So I'll have photos on our Facebook page of that, so that will be really fun.
And the Navy League is always has a float and sponsors some of the people that we sponsor in the Navy League, and we invite you to. It's a great organization if you'd like to join us. You don't have to have any military experience. It's an organization that simply supports the maritime services, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, and the Merchant Marine. And the USS Georgia, one of our ballistic submarines, stationed down there at Kings Bay, I don't think any of their crew has ever been in the parade. We've had the USS Alaska that's down there that has been in the parade on numerous occasions, but a lot of the sailors from the USS Georgia are going to be in the parade this year. Really looking forward to it.
That's really exciting, Bill. I'm excited about the parade. I think it's going to be really fun.
It is. Meanwhile, we want to educate you on the Constitution. You got a little snippet just a moment ago, and this is something, once again, that PragerU is doing, and this is something that this ought to be required watching for all of our kids in school, and we want you to learn a little bit more because there's still things that I'm learning about the Constitution as much as I've studied it over the years, and I don't think even when we were teaching real stuff back in school before we were worried about pronouns, even when we still had God in school, I don't think I got as good a background on the Constitution as I should have, that we should be doing these days. Prager University is trying to help that.
The Constitution has been amended 27 times. That may sound like a lot, but that's over the course of almost 250 years. And consider this, almost 12,000 amendments have been proposed. That fewer than 30 have made it through the amendment process is a testament to the strength of the framers' original design. The most famous amendments are, of course, the first 10, the Bill of Rights. Most of the others fall into three broad categories. Those that expanded the franchise, voting rights. Those that expanded the federal government's power. and those that fixed issues relating to the office of the presidency. Look at each category. Category 1, those that expanded the franchise, voting rights. The 17th Amendment, ratified in 1913, took the selection of senators out of the hands of state legislatures and placed it into the hands of the voters. The framers had believed that state officials would collectively have a better grasp of the state's needs than would ordinary citizens. However, as political machines grew in influence during the 19th century, so did political corruption. A bribery scandal involving the selection of an Illinois senator in 1910 tipped the scales in favor of direct election. The 19th Amendment, ratified in 1920, denied on account of sex. In other words, women were given the right to vote. There was nothing in the Constitution that prohibited women from voting. It was just thought to be unnecessary. This was a general belief held by men and women at the time of the Constitution's writing. The two sexes had their specific roles. Men worked, women raised the children. A man's vote represented the entire household. More women joined the workforce. Women began to demand the right to express themselves as individual citizens. The 19th Amendment ensured that right at the ballot box. The 23rd Amendment, ratified in 1961, included the District of Columbia in presidential elections. Since Washington, D.C. isn't a state, it originally didn't have any electoral votes. When its population grew larger than some states, it seemed to make sense to give the district representation in the national election. The 24th Amendment, ratified in 1964, banned poll taxes, fees imposed by states on voters, specifically black voters. By 1964, 5 southern states still had poll taxes on their books, a remnant of Jim Crow laws. By banning the tax, the 24th Amendment ended a blatant form of discrimination. The 26th Amendment, ratified in 1971, lowered the minimum age of voting from 21 to 18. With soldiers as young as 18 fighting in World War II and then in Vietnam, many felt that if you were old enough to fight, you were old enough to vote for the leaders who could send you into war. Category 2, the amendments that expanded the government's power, gave Congress the power to lay and collect taxes on incomes. As wealth disparity increased between farmers, workers, and a new class of fabulously wealthy industrialists like John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, and J.P. Morgan, so did the sentiment for an income tax. The promise was that only the rich would pay. History would quickly prove otherwise. The top tax rate shot up from 7% to 77% to finance World War I, and then 94% to finance World War II. But of course, the income tax didn't stay confined to the wealthy, as any young person getting his first paycheck can attest. The 18th Amendment, known as Prohibition, was ratified in 1919. It banned the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors. The motive behind the amendment was a good one: to reduce alcoholism, a destroyer of countless lives and a primary source of violent crime, domestic abuse, and sexual assault. But the amendment was ultimately a failure, leading to the unintended consequence of a massive black market and the emergence of organized crime. The 21st Amendment in 1933 repealed Prohibition, making the 18th Amendment the only one to ever be repealed. Category 3. The amendments that fixed issues related to the office of the presidency. The 20th Amendment, ratified in 1933, moved Inauguration Day from March to January. The modern world was moving much too fast to wait 5 months to transfer power from one president to the next. The 22nd, ratified in 1951, limited the president to 2 terms in office as a reaction to Franklin Roosevelt's 4 terms. And the 25th, ratified in 1967, allows the vice president to become acting president in the event the commander-in-chief is physically or mentally incapacitated. The Constitution has proven to be remarkably durable, just as the framers envisioned. They wanted a document that could be amended and adjusted as times changed, but not so easily that its core principles would be compromised. You'd have to say they succeeded. I'm John Yoo, Professor of Law at the University of California, Berkeley, for Prager University. Thank you for...
I see, it's stuff like that that people ought to be learning, including us.
Yes, I mean, we were just sitting here talking about each one of like, oh, that was good. Oh, that was bad. That was very, very bad.
Yeah. The income tax was just disgusting that they didn't put a cap on it. Even the Soviet Union put a cap on there. So if the communists can figure this out, you would think that the people in Washington would be able to figure it out as well.
Yeah, we need to figure that out.
There's nothing in our tax code that prevents them from taking all of your money.
Right. Well, and I mean, look at the narrative has always been the rich are going to pay the taxes. That's always been the narrative, and that has not happened. So
they keep doing that all the time. Yeah. President Biden's only going to raise taxes on people making over $400,000.
It's not true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there are those hidden taxes that we don't know about. Getting ready with Thanksgiving coming up, a lot of good cooking is going to be going on. Just recently at the Savannah Book Festival, we had one of the cooks, the guys put together another one of these great recipe books. Good friend of ours, and here's a little snippet of what we talked to him about his new book that was just out.
Oh, good. Yeah. Jonathan, what's your impression of the book festival so far?
It was wonderful. What an incredible cross-section of authors, too, in so many different genres and so much talent. And the crowds are fantastic. I've met people from Wisconsin, Florida, New York, all over. Plus, the local Savannans and people from the Low Country are all here. So it's great. It's a wonderful mix.
What was your? I know your lecture this morning went over real well.
It went great. We were almost at full capacity. I was in the Nices Auditorium at the Japson Center for the Telfair, and very engaged crowd. So it was even for 9 o'clock on a untypically cold morning in Savannah. We were well attended. So I was very happy.
What's been the reaction to your new book?
It's been really good. I'm very pleased. It's just going into another printing. I've been on speaking engagements from Fairhope, Alabama, here to Savannah, Atlanta, all across the South, and the reviews have been very good. This is my third book from Mercer University Press. Second time I presented here at the festival. I actually was on the founding board of the book festival many years ago. So,
well, I'll tell you, you've done a good job because this has become one of the premier book festivals. I remember Hoda Kotb saying a few years ago from NBC, said her book was out and her publisher told her, you've got to get to Savannah.
That's wonderful. And it's a testament to what the festival has become just by seeing, again, all the people from Houston, Texas and Seattle, Washington that came here just for the book festival. So it's great.
Yeah. So what's cooking in this new one?
In this new one, this is Cook and Celebrate, and it is a collection of Southern holiday culinary traditions. And what I do is I have a narrative of 150 recipes. They all surround Southern holidays from New Year's to Christmas, Easter, Halloween, and the food that we love behind them.
Yeah. Probably not the last either.
No, I don't think so. So anyway.
Good. Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you, Bill. It's
Thanks,
a pleasure seeing you.
Appreciate it. Likewise.
All right.
Jonathan Scott Barrett, his books are fantastic, and had a great lecture there, and you could tell it was popular because the place was packed to hear what he had to say and what he was cooking, whether it was Thanksgiving or Brittany just told me I said it was Thanksgiving, and it's a good book to get ready for because it's never too early to prepare for that. But for St. Patrick's Day coming up, you want a good recipe for corned beef and cabbage?
Oh yeah,
there you go.
I love it.
Good stuff.
That's the best thing about the South is the food.
Mm-hmm.
I love food down here.
I'm telling you.
So good.
All right. Well, that's about as the old Egyptian undertaker used to say after a hard day's work, that about wraps it up.
Yep. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.